I've been using an Apple Watch every single day for almost 10 years now. And during this time, I've used every single Apple Watch model, some for only a few days or weeks to review, whilst others I have used for years. And as some of you may already know, for the past 3 years, I've been using this Apple Watch Series 7. As I didn't really feel the need to upgrade to the Series 8 or 9 since I didn't need that temperature sensor from the Series 8 or the double tap feature and faster as 9 chip from the Series 9. But what I told you was that if the Series 10 was a major upgrade to the Series 7, then I would finally switch to it. And I have. So here's my initial review alongside a couple of interesting findings. Also, as promised, we have now launched our lifetime purchase option for our app wallpapers. So for a one-time fee of $34.99 or £29.99, you'll get access to all of our almost 120 wallpapers packs. That's 1,200 wallpapers in 8K resolution that you can use on any device that you want, including desktop, made by our talented designers. And you also get access to all of our future packs as well, with 2 new packs launching every single week. We've got no ads, and you don't have to pay for a subscription either with this lifetime purchase option. Check it out in our app wallpapers by using the links below. Okay, so my first surprise was when it came to the fit. From the images that were posted online, the Apple Watch Series 10 looked huge. Far bigger than even the Apple Watch Ultra, so I was genuinely worried that it would be way too big for my wrist. Well, I'm happy to say that in person, it is actually smaller than the Apple Watch Ultra, and not that much different compared to my old Series 7. Yes, it is a tiny bit wider, and it does feel bigger, but not by a huge amount. Plus, it is also significantly thinner now, as you can probably see, the Series 7 is the one on the right. And even when compared to my very first Apple Watch Series 0, the thinnest Apple Watch to ever be released, the Series 10 is also thinner. Does this actually matter? Absolutely. The Series 10 now simply sits way closer to my wrist, which means that it can finally go under some of my tighter shirts, where in some cases the Series 7 did struggle with. So wearing the Series 10 feels like I'm wearing a regular watch. Not even to mention that it is considerably lighter than my old stainless steel Series 7. It's about half the weight, so I don't feel that weighty drag effect on my wrist anymore. And by the way, I am using the jet black aluminum version. More about that shortly. The second thing that I've discovered is that previous bands don't actually work the same way that I've expected them to. So because the body is now thinner, old bands will now be thinner. So for example, with my Milanese loop, if I tighten it to the max, the strap would actually go over the display, which is not great. Whereas bands like my braided toe loops, they just feel way too loose. So I do need to wear my Apple Watch higher up on my arm because of this. And here's something weird that I found. If you use a 45mm band for the Series 7, 8, or 9, the band mounting mechanism will actually leave a gap, which, makes sense as we've now got a larger 46mm body. However, if you use a 42 or a 44mm band from the Series 0 to 4 or 4 to 6, they will actually fit perfectly. Wait, hold on, how does that even make any sense? Well, it's because Apple measures their case sizes vertically rather than diagonally. And it seems like the pre-Series 7 Apple Watches did have the same band mounting mechanism width as the Series 10. So older Apple Watch bands, like this old 42mm Milanese loop, will actually fit perfectly. Which brings me to the color. Here's a fun fact, the only aluminum Apple Watch that I've ever had was this very original one. After that, I switched to the stainless steel version as I absolutely loved this shiny black metal look, which looked so premium. That was the space black color that Apple used on the pre-Series 7 Apple Watches. This looked absolutely incredible as the color was pitch black, and Apple also used a durable DLC coating to make the space black color even more durable and almost impossible to scratch. Even to this day, my old Series 2 and 4 still look pristine. With the Series 7, they changed to a graphite color that was not black, but rather a very dark gray. And they also got rid of the DLC coating, so it was not as durable anymore. My Series 7, as you can hopefully see, has more scratches than my Series 4 did. Now, you could still get the space black color, but you had to buy the Hermes edition, which was far more expensive. So I just got the graphite, and that's what I ended up using for the past 3 years. But I've wanted a true black Apple Watch again, so when Apple announced the jet black color, I had to give it a go. And I gotta say, I absolutely love this color. It's just as black as the old Space Black, just not quite as shiny. And when I'm using my Milanese loupe from my Series 2, it almost matches perfectly, color-wise and fit-wise. I did try the new Slate Titanium as well, which to my surprise is actually darker than the old Graphite, although not as dark as the old Space Black or the new Jet Black. So I'm actually going to be sticking with this Jet Black for the next few years. Now, I'm a bit worried when it comes to durability. As you probably know, aluminum is less durable than titanium, and this version also has a glass display as opposed to the sapphire screen that we've got on the titanium version. So far, I've got no scratches or scuffs, but I'm curious to see how this will change long term. Now, I also want to touch upon the battery life a bit. So it's definitely better than on my Series 7. Which was already at 81% battery health, but it is not considerably better. I get about a day and a half out of it, which is what I also used to get with my Series 7 at launch. Now, to give you some specific numbers, I did a couple of workouts at the gym with just the Series 10. So I left my iPhone at home, I had cellular turned on, and I was listening to podcasts while also having the workouts app open. So I was pushing this thing to the max. And during my 1.5 hour workout, the Series 10 dropped 30% battery. So based on this, if you are to go out on a hike without your phone, and you just use your Apple Watch for tracking your workout and listening to music, all at the same time via cellular, you should get about 5 hours. Definitely not enough for a full day of hiking. Now, of course, there are ways of improving this. You can turn on low power mode, which will disable a couple of things like the always on display, notifications will be delayed, and a couple of other limitations. However, for me, this is actually fine. And hey, if it still dies too quickly, as long as you've got a power bank with you, you'll be able to charge it super fast. It now charges to about 80% in just 30 minutes as opposed to 50% of the Series 7, 8, or 9. Also, the Ultra takes 1 hour to charge to 80%, so the Series 10 charges twice as fast. Now, if you don't like carrying a battery bank with you and you also don't want to wait 30 minutes for your Apple Watch to recharge, that's where the Apple Watch Ultra comes in. And I've used the Ultra 2 for a tiny bit, and I've got some thoughts here as well against the Series 10. So I do like the new color. The matte black titanium looks just gorgeous. But compared to the Series 10, it is considerably heavier and just way, way thicker. Now, I do get why some people love it. I definitely get its appeal, but for me, I much prefer the Series 10. Also, the Ultra 2 doesn't go under pretty much any of my shirts because of how thick it is. I always feel like I've got this very big weight on my wrist. But hey, the new Milanese loupe looks great. I do prefer this new design over the regular one, although the mechanism to adjust is quite fiddly, so yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this. That extra battery life is really nice to have, and I do hope that we will see this in a future version of the standard Apple Watch when Apple starts using newer battery tech like silicon carbon. Aside from this, the only thing that I wish I had on my Series 10 is the modular Ultra watch face. I just love how you can have 7 complications, out of which one is this larger widget style. You cannot actually have the same on the Series 10. Like, even if you use the infographic watch face, which gives you 8 complications, you cannot actually have any of them be this larger widget style, which can actually give you a lot more info. And speaking of watch faces, the Series 10 does let you see the second hand on the always on display now, but this only works on the 2 new watch faces, so the Flux and then Reflections. That's it. This does not work on any of the older watch faces. Some people have said that this is because of complications. That is simply not true. You can modify the Reflections watch face to also have complications, and there you go. Second hand still works in the always on. So I do hope that Apple updates all of the older watch faces with this feature as well. Other than that, a couple of quick other findings. I haven't really noticed that wider angle field of view for the OLED screen. To me, it looks the same as the Series 7. And that tiny speaker grill luckily hasn't gotten clogged with dirt yet. We'll see how long this takes until it happens. And speaking of the speaker, I did use it to listen to a meditation before going to sleep, which was actually quite nice to do on the watch itself without needing AirPods.
Something that allows you to feel comfortable and receptive to the sounds.
So all in all, I am quite happy with the Series 10, and I do think that if you've got an older Apple Watch, even a Series 9, you could consider upgrading to the Series 10, especially since Apple takes multiple years to update their design, so I don't see this design changing until probably the Series 13. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below. And don't forget to check out our new lifetime purchase option for our app wallpapers. I'm Daniel, this is zoneoftech, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Zoneoftech, signing out. Cheers.